Hi y'all, so you're back on here in that episode of Indigo Podcast, and today I'm gonna be giving y'all another race recap because I had a cross country meet. It was Friday. I'll put a clip up there like I usually do of me just, running a little bit. But this meet was pretty interesting. It was, I feel like, the most interesting meet out of all of them, but you won't find out until I tell you, so let's get into it. So the first thing is the stats. So obviously distance 3.1 miles. It was a little bit over, but it was 3.12, but I believe I stopped it a little bit late. But anyway, 3.1 miles as always, 5:55 average minute per mile pace. My official time was 18:29. Place 46 out of 85. Average heart rate was 141, which is a little bit low, but it was like 63, 65 degrees when we took off. So that's probably why it's cooler. Even on this morning's run, I'll put my heart rate like up there. Like the first few miles, even I was at like a 7 minute per mile pace. Like the heart rate was pretty low. So I just attribute that to the colder weather and the less humid climate. So that's probably why. And my max is 155. So that's kind of odd too, but the wrist isn't that accurate either way, so I'll take it with a grain of salt. But fastest pace was a 4:06 minute per mile pace, and the splits 5:50, 6:02, 5:56, and the last 0.1 of a mile was a 5:28. So not bad splits. They were pretty consistent, but I'm gonna get more into that later. Right, the splits, I do want them. I'm a little bit picky with it, but I do want them to be a little bit faster. But good effort overall, even though obviously wasn't the goal I set, but we'll get more into that later. So second thing is the course. Now the course was a little bit interesting because right where we set up camp, there's this huge like ditch in the ground. So you had to like kind of walk really slow and then walk up like an incline, like get onto like where the course is, like the vicinity of the course. So that was a little bit interesting. We didn't run anywhere near, well, we ran near the ditch when we hit the turns, but other than that, like the course was kind of wet in some spots. I mean, it was I'm thrown off. It was a little bit, obviously it was the morning, so morning dew was all over the ground, so that was a little bit interesting. Socks were a little bit wet, but nothing too OD. But other than that, like it was no mud or like no puddles or nothing. It was just a little bit, I guess, nipply on the ground. I don't know if that applies to that, but that's the word I'm gonna use. But in terms of technicalities, this was the most technical course because there's a lot of, obviously, when you make a course, you clear out a lot of the debris and stuff that may be a hazard, a safety hazard to the runners. But even though they did, there was still some tree branches that you had to look out for. Only reason I think it would be an issue if you're just not paying attention and you're just going on autopilot. Because, I mean, when we did our warm-up, our mile, we did kind of go on the course. So I did see the branches. So I kind of expected that going into it. But other than that, it was pretty flat. No really major dips in elevation, no really crazy hills or any of that. It was pretty flat. The only thing I would have to mention is just the like branches, which can be an issue. If, like, let's say you put your foot down wrong and you might trip or you might just like lose your step. But other than that, it was a pretty flat course. It wasn't the flattest. The flattest still goes to Spring Branch. That was like the fastest course I've ever ran on so far. But this one was flat. It was just a little bit like kind of like wet on the ground and a few branches if you weren't paying attention. But other than that, pretty straightforward course. 3 loops, and then at the last point one, you cut into the finish where the little finish blow up balloony thing is. So yeah, wasn't really my favorite course, but it was interesting. It was cool. It was a cool course. Like it's like in between of all of them in terms of ranking. But the third one, pre-race, kept the fuel the same, 2 slices of sourdough. I'm not really gonna reiterate what I ate because I'm sure at this point y'all understand what I ate, but kept the fuel consistent. And the sleep has actually been very good recently. This whole week I've gotten 7 back to back. So sleep was very, very consistent, like very dialed in going into this race. So I was very happy with that. And just the main goal after being sick was just trying to keep recovery as dialed in as possible. Because yeah, I'm sure you get the gist of that. Recovery is just important as a human being, but especially if you do like powerlifting or you run or you cycle or any type of endurance sport, because it really helps with your training and just your vitality and recovery from the training, obviously. But Main goal is just to keep recovery as ideal as possible and just go into the race feeling as best as possible. So pre-race, that's kind of what went on pre-race. Bus ride, I was slumped again. I was knocked out. Very, very good nap. It made the ride feel way longer than it actually was. But other than that, a few naps and keeping sleep dialed in, that's what entailed pre-race. So fourth thing, what was the goal going into the race? Obviously, the goal was 1750 to 1810. So obviously, I did miss the goal by 19 seconds. But I'll get more into this when I talk about what I learned about it. But I'm not. I am kind of disappointed with the outcome. I'm gonna be dead honest. I mean, it wasn't what I wanted, but I mean, I realize, and I mean, I know this is just, even though you know something doesn't mean you can still deal with the outcome. But you're not gonna PR every race. You're not gonna execute every race. And the thing is, when you don't execute the race, you learn from it. So I don't necessarily think it was obviously a physical problem or like a health related problem or any of that. I just think the race wasn't executed well, and I gotta hold myself accountable for that and just learn from it. Because I mean, in order to win, you gotta lose. I mean, in my opinion, that was a loss, and I mean, it is what it is, and I'm gonna learn from it and come back harder than that. So missed the goal, but still a good race. The splits were pretty good. Finish was cool, but obviously not what I wanted. But I mean, you gotta lose some. You gotta miss or make a few quote unquote mistakes to learn from and improve better down the line. So that's kind of what the goal was going into the race. The goal is very apparent, but you gotta execute better. So fifth thing, what did I learn from this race? What I kind of mentioned, I just got kind of reminded that things don't always go the way you expect it to, because going into the race I did expect a PR and that did not happen. So I got reminded that not everything is promised. Just because you're consistent, just because you put in work, just doesn't mean success is guaranteed. Because I got reminded failure is the only thing that's really guaranteed in whatever you do. So I mean, I did experience this somewhat when I was training for the 400, because when I did do my first PR attempt for the 400, I did miss that by a second. Well, not technically 2 seconds, because sub 60 is 59 and below. So I did miss that before. So I kind of already know how it goes. You just learn from it and learn, okay, you need to be more aggressive or whatever you need to do to fix whatever happened. But I just learned that, it's okay to be frustrated with the outcome. But I know one thing with running, like, you want to have the brain of a goldfish. Like, give yourself maybe max a day to think about it. Obviously, you'll probably still be thinking about it going into the week, but just give yourself time to reflect on it and adjust. I think the main thing is taking that and adjusting and being even better, because I don't really think any type of shortcoming or any type of miss of a goal or loss, however you want to categorize it, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if you didn't try, because I think if you didn't try and you just kind of just let it all hang out there, pause, that's when it becomes a problem, because it just shows that you're not even putting the effort in. But if you just kind of misstepped and you maybe didn't push when you should have, or whenever, or pressed when you should have, or kicked, or just I guess minute details that you didn't apply in that race, so I just think I just really learned that execution is important, and just learning that sometimes stuff isn't going to go your way. I just got reminded of that, and you just got to learn from it and move on. So last thing I'm going to kind of talk about is, what is the goal going into the next meet? And the goal still stands. I'm still going to go for a PR next meet, but in terms of a time, I'm not going to reveal a time. I'm not going to I have a time in my head, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not going to say, this time, or I'm just going to focus on execution and run to the best of my ability and be consistently good instead of occasionally great. But these recaps are getting pretty short, but I feel like with the recaps, it's pretty straightforward, but I just want to make sure y'all hear the wins and the losses in every part of this journey, because all of it equates to the end result. So yeah, but that was episode 50, the cross country meet recap, and I'm gonna see y'all at district.